Hello everybody. This video is yet another completion of Critical Mode, which is a challenge for Killing Floor 2 created by Noot Noot, where the goal is to complete a 10-wave survival Hell on Earth difficulty match as a level 0 perk of your choosing. Critical Mode is heavily inspired by the level 0 plus challenge, which was created by Fat Cat, also known as Psycho Gamers. The difference between Critical Mode and the level 0 plus challenge is that in Critical Mode, XP cannot be gained at all. Therefore, I will remain at level 0 for the entire match. Now the rules for the challenge are as follows. 1. No off-perk weapons can be used. I must only use weapons that are directly tied to my perk. Number 2. No DLC weapons can be used. This means that I cannot use weapons such as the Dashin Gun or the Mosin Nagant or the G18Cs, so on and so forth. Basically anything bought from the store. Number 3. Official maps only, which in this case will be doing Monster Ball. And lastly, I must remain level 0 for the entire match, which I just talked about earlier. So anyway, without further ado, like I said earlier, this match is going to take place on Monster Ball using the Demolitionist perk. And in this run, I plan to explain what I'm doing and giving you some narration on that, and also just talking about some general tactics that you can use to help you be successful in these kind of runs. So as you can see, I am level 0, I have no skills, I have no passives, I have basically nothing. So starting out here, in Monster Ball, you will always spawn in this area here behind this gate. And where I'm going to want to go here is off to the right after the door opens. Because there is a landing up there, up that set of stairs there on my right, which is going to be where I'm going to spend most of my time during this run. So this spot here is good for this challenge in my opinion, because when you're standing back in this area here, the Zeds can only come from two spots. They can either come from the front where those plots are now, or they can come from the door on my right. This makes it really easy to control the flow. I mean, obviously you want to be in a spot where you don't have, as many entrances into the spot you're holding at. So the more you can reduce that, the better. And in this case, like I said, there's only two. And also what I like about this spot is that if I decide I do need to leave for any reason at all, I could just drop back behind me through that gap in the railing there. And I also have a height advantage because I'm on a raised platform. So if there's anything below me down here, then I can basically get past them for free. There's a chance that I might even get a Goomba Stomp in. Now, I decided to leave there because I just didn't want to sacrifice the health for it. And now that we're on the kite, I want to talk about the choke points in this map. Monster Ball is very infamous for having a difficult kite because there are a lot of blind corners. This is a lot like any of the other maps that I've done so far on this channel that I've uploaded, because those maps have been relatively open and you have room to actually see things coming out up ahead of you and actually make adjustments. But in Monster Ball, you're not really offered that luxury as much. Like I said, there are lots of blind corners, and you're going to see in this video that there's lots of moments where I actually almost die because things just walk out right in front of me. And so to aid in this and prevent those things from being too much of a factor, we can actually utilize the traps. Now specifically, the EMP trap, which is where I'm standing right now, is probably the most useful trap in the map by far. It's really good at deraging and calming Zeds, and any Zeds that are EMP'd are not able to use their special abilities, so this would prevent Scrakes from raging. It'll actually calm them down if they are already raged, which is nice. Prevents FPs from raging, and so on and so forth. So you're going to see that during this match, I'm going to be moving to that position a lot, and using that as a means to slow down the Zeds and give myself a little bit more breathing room. So completing wave 1 here, I want to get off of the HX25 as soon as possible. It's honestly, it's not a bad gun, but it's really not a good gun either. And to be fair, neither is the HRG Tommy Boom. It's also equally as shit of a gun, I feel. Actually, I'd say the HX25 is better. But the reason why I buy the Tommy Boom here is because I do want to have something that's a bit faster. The HX25 is a single shot pistol and it's slow. And what's more important in level 0 challenge is not necessarily how much damage you're doing, or even like, just the damage really. It's not as important as having a weapon that allows you to deal with a more diverse amount of threats. And in this case, I now have a machine gun basically, so I can gun down things like Gore Fiends, even Riders. But the reason why the reason why the Tommy Boom sucks though is because the damage is just abysmal. And you'll actually see a couple times in this wave where I shoot a clot, and it's a clot, and it literally like doesn't die after like 2 shots. So you definitely don't want to use this gun for longer than a wave. I'm just using it again because it is a little bit better than the HX25. But eventually what I would like to do in this run is I do want to eventually graduate up to the M16, M203, and also the HRG Kaboom Stick. And I'll talk more about why those are good later on when I get them. But just so you know, that's what I want to eventually get around to. And here I'm picking up this Winchester so that I can sell it for money. Now, remember, like I said earlier, I'm not allowed to use off-perk weapons, and the Winchester is not for Demolitionist, so if I were to fire that gun, I would actually void my run. But there is no rule against selling the weapon, so I still can pick it up and sell it for money. So speaking of choke points, that little staircase thing that I just went through right there, that's probably one of the worst spots in the map during a kite. As you can see, it's very narrow, and it's very common that Zeds will spawn on the opposite side as you run through. And also, the area by the EMP path that I've been talking about so much this entire run so far, that area is also a very dangerous area in terms of choke points. And so in those 2 sections, you're going to want to be on the lookout for Zeds in front of you, and either kill them or evade them. And I'll talk again about that more later, because there are lots of things you can do, especially with the HRG Kaboom Stick, to prevent those things from being a problem. So anyway, finishing up wave 2, not much to talk about. I'm just kind of chilling and shooting Zeds in the head. Yeah. In level 0 plus, or sorry, in critical mode, because you are level 0 for the entire run, a lot of Zeds that you normally would not really care about too much in a regular run actually end up becoming quite a big threat in this, because you just don't do as much damage. And in the case of some perks, you don't have things like passive armor or armor reduction, like in the case of Berserker, for example. So you really have to be careful, and it feels weird at first because, like I said, Zeds that are normally not a problem are actually very dangerous. For example, Rioters. So don't feel bad if you need to back up, and just take your time. Try to avoid getting hit. This run is all about playing it safe and not doing anything risky. As long as you can keep yourself alive, you will end up outlasting the wave, and you'll end up winning, which is the point. So anyway, because I found that Winchester, I was able to actually get the extra dodge that I needed to buy the M16. And the reason why I want the M16 is because it's for 2 reasons, basically. Number 1, AoE with the M203 grenade launcher. It's just really good at killing multiple targets, like, for example, a crawler spam or a stalker spam. But the more important reason of why I want the M16 is because it doesn't have a minimum arming range. Now, most of Demolitionist weapons have a minimum arming range where if a Zed is too close to you and the projectile doesn't have enough time of flight through the air, the projectile will not arm and therefore not explode. Now, obviously, the grenade launcher on this gun does have that restriction, but I'm talking about the machine gun itself. And that is good because that allows me to kill threats at basically any range. So if I get a Gorefast in my face or anything in my face, I can just shoot them, and it allows me to be more ammo efficient overall. So I'm going to be saving my grenades for groups of Zeds, and then using the M16 primary fire to kill basically everything else. And it might seem like I don't really have much ammo, but you can actually make this ammo stretch really well if you if you don't miss. So you'll see me taking a lot of careful shots here. Coming up here, by the way, at this door, this is the second dangerous spot that I was talking about. There's very common that during a kite, as you're approaching that door, that you're gonna get Zeds right around the corner. And if that happens, you can basically, your run can end right there pretty easily. And in fact, that actually almost happens in this run, and you'll see it somewhat soon. I think it's like the next wave or something. So we got our first Scrake. So this is actually quite unlucky, to be honest. The earliest that large Zeds can possibly spawn is wave 3. And I believe you're only allowed to get Scrakes on wave 3. So the fact that I even got a Scrake is actually fairly unlucky. But it's not a big deal. One thing about Scrakes is that they take increased damage from projectile impacts. So if I were to shoot the M203 at the Scrake and directly impact him with a grenade, he'll actually take more damage than most other guns. So killing the Scrake is really not a big deal with this weapon. Mainly what I have to be careful about is just not running out of ammo, which is manageable as long as I weave in some melee attacks like you saw there, and you know, just not missing. These stairs here are also quite dangerous during this kite. The worst thing that can happen to you is something drops out in front of you on your way up the stairs, and there's nothing you can really do because you don't have the height to pull off a Goomba Stomp. So I'd recommend that when you're in a kite, try to aim to get up those stairs. Like, never linger at the bottom of the stairs. Always get upstairs. So that way, in case that does happen, you're at least in a better position to handle it. Somehow I didn't see that rider, but it's okay. Coming back up on the bad spot again. Gotta be very careful here. This is a vanilla match, like I said earlier, so this means that Zeds can teleport, and Zed teleportation is easily my personal most hated. I fucking hate Zed teleportation, sorry. I'm just gonna say it, I fucking hate it. Zeds are allowed to teleport up ahead of the player as long as there are more than 12 Zeds remaining in the wave. So right now it's disabled because there's only 10, but if there's more than 12, they can teleport up ahead of you, and this leads to a whole bunch of stupid situations where you shoot, you know, like a crawler or something, and then another one just appears right in front of your face because he teleported ahead of you, which is really fair and balanced. And unfortunately in this run, because this is vanilla, we have to deal with that. So that's another reason why that door choke is so dangerous, because even if you do everything perfectly fine and you don't kill any Zeds or anything, you can sometimes just get fucked over by the game, and the game can just decide, hey, I'm gonna teleport everything ahead of you at that moment, which happens a lot. So you'll see that happen several times throughout this run. Anyway, almost done here with the wave. Of course, the Scrake is the last thing left, and again, it may not look like I have enough ammo, but I have more than enough. There, I'm not exactly sure what happened. I'm still kind of confused about it. I was confused about it during the run. The Scrake should have flinched there when I bashed him, but he just didn't for some reason, and he ended up hitting me. I don't know why that happened, but what I wanted to do there was bash him with my gun, and then shoot an M203 grenade into his face. Because bashing a Zed causes them to flinch, and it makes their movement predictable, and in the case of a Scrake, it helps you line up a headshot really easily. Notice how I didn't even really care about getting the explosion to go off. I cared more about the dud. Because again, like I said, Scrakes take more damage from impact, from projectiles. So as long as I can get that dud off, I only really need to shoot him in the head a few more times with the primary fire and he'll be dead. So anyway, wave 3 over and done with. Here I'm trying to figure out what I want to buy. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough money for the Kaboom Stick, even though I really wanted to buy one, so I decided to just fill everything I had. Get myself some armor. There's a heated debate about armor amongst Hell on Earth and CD players. And a lot of people will say that buying armor is generally wasteful early in the game, and honestly, in a lot of ways, I agree with that. I think if you're not being careful about managing the threats around you and you're not paying enough attention, then yeah, buying armor is kind of a waste because you're just going to lose it. Also, hello, Scrake. Nice teleport. I guess the game thought he was stuck or something. I don't know what happened there. But because he's there, I can't hold that anymore, so I have to unfortunately leave my hold, which sucks. But, yeah. I forgot what I was talking about. That'll come back to me. But, yeah, so coming up on the bad choke point again. Oh, yeah, I know what I was talking about now. I was talking about armor. Yeah, so armor is fiercely debated by Hell on Earth players. Again, a lot of people will say it's wasteful. A lot of people say they swear by it. I'm one of the people that's more closer to swearing by it, but I do generally agree that it is wasteful, like I said, if you're not being careful. Because armor does cost 300 Dosh, and if you're just wasting it, you could have used that money to buy like another weapon maybe, or get an upgrade or something like that. So my advice would be this. Buy armor at least like in chunks. Buy, you know, maybe 25% armor, or 50 if you really feel like you need the protection early on in the game. And then when you get to like wave 4 or 5, when you have most of your weapons, then start buying full armor vest. You definitely want to have some armor though, because armor is extremely helpful. I cannot stress this enough in these runs. I say this every single video that I make on this challenge, that armor seriously can save your life. The way armor works in Killing Floor 2 is that when it's above 75% integrity, sorry, 75 armor, not percent, just above the number 75. it will reduce your damage taken by 75%, which is a massive value. And when it gets below, when it's between 50 and 75 armor, it will reduce your damage taken by 65%. And anything else below 50 armor will reduce your damage taken by 50%. Either way, it's extremely helpful to have, and you want to have that because, once again, this is vanilla, and it's possible for you to get things like spawn rage flesh pounds, and if you get those, you want to have the armor for that. So you're going to see me really playing it safe. This is pretty much why I'm not fighting any Zeds right now. I want to take them to a spot where I know I can navigate better and I have a better chance of killing them. Also, I think I'm also here as well, though, because there's dodge zone here. I just wanted to get a little bit of extra money out of the wave here. Unfortunately, that E-Dart shows up there and forces me to walk out. So I unfortunately not only took some damage, but I didn't get to kill the Zeds in the zone. But yeah, like, the zone was in the perfect spot there. So I basically decided, like, screw it, I might as well just go ahead and you know, get the money for it. As you can see, I got 146 dodge, so that's almost half of the total amount of the zone. So that's actually going to be pretty helpful. There he goes, a good example of the M16 takedown on the Scrake. Now I can actually buy the HRG Kaboom Stick, which I definitely will do, even though it seems like it was a bad purchase, because now I basically have, like, no ammo. But the reason why I wanted the Kaboom Stick this entire time is because the Kaboom Stick does two things for me. Number one, it again has no minimum arming range. So that means that if a Zed is right in front of me, I can shoot that Zed and the projectile will explode. That's extremely helpful. And two, if you watch my support video, support level 0 challenge video, you'll know that I used the double barrel boomstick in that video. And that weapon was very good for mobility. It allowed me to do jumps, it allowed me to move faster. The Kaboom Stick operates in exactly the same way. So through the Kaboom Stick, I'm actually able to gain a lot of mobility, which is one of Demolitionist's main pitfalls. So starting wave 5 here, nothing too special, I just want to try to hold this position as long as I can. The reason why I'm peeking this room here is because I'm hoping to catch some Zeds that are coming up the stairs there. Because as you noticed on the right there, if Zeds do come around that corner, they're very close to me, and I almost have no time to kill them. So, you know, if it was like a Scrake or something, then once he walks around the corner, I basically have no choice but to leave. But if I can catch a Scrake early, there's a chance that I might be able to damage him enough and actually keep my hold. So just try to be careful when peeking, though, because if you peek and there's a Flesh Pound there, you'll actually activate his Rage Timer. Flesh Pounds, once seeing the player, activate a timer that will cause them to automatically enrage after 15 seconds. So if the Flesh Pound sees you, you basically have to kill him or he's going to eventually rage and hit you. So just be careful when you're peeking like that. But it's obviously, I haven't heard the spawn queues, so I know there's no Flesh Pounds alive right now. I want to talk about the cage trap real quick, which is that trap I just walked under there. You notice that I haven't really been using it, and you might think that that's kind of weird, and maybe even a bad idea, like a bad play on my part. But I can assure you that it's actually the better play to not use that trap more often than not, because what happens is when you use the trap, the Zeds will then recognize that that path is inaccessible. So they will take another path instead, and because that room is bi-directional, guess where they're going to go instead? They're going to come out right in front of you. And later on in the game, when you have larges in the field, like Raised FPs for example, you really don't want Raised FPs coming out in front of you while you're trying to go through that double door, because as I mentioned, the double door by the EMP path is extremely dangerous. So it's actually better in that circumstance to actually just let the Flesh Pounds follow you through the trap and not activate it so that they stay behind you. Also, I got 4 Gore Fiends here somehow, that's kind of insane. Yeah, don't fuck with Gore Fiends on level 0, they're very threatening actually. Gore Fiends do a lot of damage, they can kill you in a matter of seconds if you let them wail on you too long. And right now I really don't want to lose the armor, so I'm just going to run away from them. Oh, speaking of Flesh Pounds, I've got a Raised FP. Now in this circumstance, I did just talk about not using the trap, but I am going to use the trap here because there are only 18 Zeds left in the wave. And I know that this is the only Flesh Pound I'm going to get. So it's okay for me to go ahead and trap this one. And just like that, threw in some dynamite and then shot him into a 3 grenade, and he is a goner. Now this spot here is I'm just gonna say this. I don't know what the fuck happened here. I don't know if you noticed that there were 4 bloats and 4 sirens just suddenly out of nowhere around that corner. Yeah, that's why I'm glad that I have the kaboom stick, because the kaboom stick let me jump over all of that. And if I didn't have that weapon, this run would have been over right there. I don't know how I got that kind of a ridiculous spawn at the last second there. I'd have to say that's pretty unlucky. But you know, I had the kaboom stick, and like I said, that's what's allowing me to, you know, actually survive that encounter. You really can't put a price on that mobility. It's so good. It's, as someone that really likes to play support a lot and uses the double barrel boomstick, I can tell you straight up that that gun has saved more runs than any other gun in the game. It's so good. And on top of that, the kaboom stick has no minimum arming range, and it doesn't even hurt you too. That's, honestly, it's a little bit broken in that regard, right? Because it doesn't even hurt you. You can just look at the ground and shoot your feet and kill anything around you that's small. So found an AR-15 here. Again, can't use it, but I am allowed to sell it and get money, so that's good because I need that right now. Eventually here I'm going to want to start looking to upgrade one of these 2 weapons, and I don't remember which one I choose. I'm pretty sure it's the M16, but you definitely want to upgrade the M16 first. That's the priority. The M16 gets a pretty dramatic damage boost from its first upgrade, to the point where it allows you to pretty reliably deal with quarter pounds, and even flesh pounds to an extent, but quarter pounds are very, very susceptible to, well actually, sorry, flesh pounds in general are susceptible to explosive damage, period. But since quarter pounds have less health, that one upgrade on the M16 basically leaves the quarter pound at like 10% HP after you're shooting them with 1 grenade. So it's definitely worth investing in the upgrade early. You actually have enough room with this loadout to actually upgrade both guns. Namely, you can upgrade one of them to the maximum tier, and then the other one could be upgraded once. Again, I'd recommend upgrading the M16 fully, and then putting another upgrade on the kaboom stick. This is kind of unlucky here. That elite crawler, he tried to dodge me, and it caused me to miss the headshot, and he blew up, and because I didn't want to waste the armor, I decided to just walk out. The reason why the elite crawler dodged me there, if you were wondering, is because I had my flashlight on. It's kind of a bad habit that I have that I'm trying to break, but the reason why I use my flashlight so often is because it makes it easier to see Zed's heads. But when using the flashlight, it will cause crawlers to try to dodge you when you look at them, and it can make getting a headshot on them a really annoying thing. So if that's happening to you, just turn your flashlight off, and they will not try to dodge you. This spot here is also another pretty bad spot as far as choke points go. You generally don't want to sit in the nightclub too long, because if you start killing Zeds in there, then Zeds might appear at the exit, and yeah, it's just one doorway, so if that happens, then you're probably going to end up dying. The reason why I'm bashing this Gorfian and not killing him is because I want to get a multi-kill. I want him to gather up with the other Zeds nearby him so that I can make the maximum use out of my ammo possible. That's something that you really have to prioritize in this kind of a run, is trying to save as much ammunition as you possibly can. And it seems like a really small thing, but that's one shot that I don't have to use. See, there's an example of the 2 crawlers, by the way. They both just sort of hopped out in unison to the side because I had my flashlight on. If I had my flashlight off there, they would not have done that. Yeah, so there you go. I should have taken my own advice from earlier and not lingered at the bottom of the staircase. That's exactly why you don't want to do that there. But hey, I've got the kaboom stick, so the kaboom stick basically nullifies that, because if there is something in front of me, all I have to do is shoot the ground and I kill it. Which is why you're going to see that whenever I go through these choke points, I will almost always have the kaboom stick out in my hands, so that if something does walk out, I could just shoot them and they're dead. So I did just get a flesh pound here. And I don't know if he's raged or not. I think no, he's not raged. He just walked up back there. So I want to, if he was raged there, what I would have done is I would have wanted to use the trap on him, because again, I am at the end of the wave. It's safe to use the trap at this point. But because he isn't raged, I want to get to the EMP path instead, which is where I'm at now. So whenever you get to this path, you always want to turn on that first switch to the right there. Always. And the reason why you want to do that is because you saw there's another switch here on this side, and what this allows you to do is, wow, he didn't de-rage from that, which is kind of insane. So I'm going to take him back over the trap again. Once again, that's why the kaboom stick is useful. I just jumped right over his head. Yeah, that's what I was talking about though. The EMP normally would have de-raged the flesh pound there, but sometimes it just doesn't. I don't know why that happens. But anyway, what I was trying to say was that when you get to that trap, you want to turn on the first lever immediately. That will obviously, it'll, you know, EMP anything that's coming from up ahead of you, which is very important and can actually help you get through. But more importantly, the lever has a cooldown, and the cooldown is such that the trap itself will turn off before the switch finishes cooling down. So there's a gap of time where you actually have to wait in order to use the trap again. But if you use the first lever, that lever has a separate cooldown from the second lever. So once the trap runs out, because you use the other lever, you can just hit the second lever and activate the trap again immediately. So it allows you to do 2 back-to-back EMPs in a row without needing to wait between them, which is pretty awesome. You can keep the entire lane shut down. Heard a siren there on my right, so I decided not to fuck with her and just shot a grenade. Your sense of hearing is obviously just generally important in killing floor 2, I'd argue, but it's especially important in level 0 challenge where you need to, again, mitigate damage taken and generally play safe. So be on the lookout for cues. You know, listen for things like husks charging up the rocket launcher at you. There's exactly the reason why, by the way, why I said to have the kaboom stick out at choke points, because those 3 stalkers, I could just basically say no and just kill them. Oh, here's a particularly funny moment. So I kind of panicked here because I didn't realize there were going to be 2 husks. Like, that completely caught me off guard. So I tried to jump over them, and they actually shot me in midair, which is just really, really unlucky, but more funny than anything else, honestly. So yeah. Oh, crawler surfing on my head there. Not much really to talk about here. Oh, actually, no, I do have something I could say here. So that right in front of me there, in that little depression in front of me down the stairs, is the fire trap. And this trap, I'm going to say this very clearly, do not activate that trap, ever. Do not turn it on. Do not press the button. Do not pass go. Do not click $200. Just act like that trap does not fucking exist. And the reason why is because in recent updates to the game, Tripwire have somehow managed to break this trap, and it does a ridiculous amount of damage to you. It does something like 40 to 45 DPS, which will kill you in like 2 seconds flat. So once again, do not turn on that trap. Do not touch it. And no, I know what you're thinking, but it'll also hurt the Zeds. It actually doesn't. It does less damage to the Zeds than it does to the player. So that trap is quite literally useless now, and it's just, there's no point to turning it on. It's just more of a liability. So yeah, ignore that trap. There's another fire trap in this map as well, and it's in the room off to my right here through the wall. It's like the main like foyer. There's like a dragon's mouth or something, or a skull, I think, in there. Fireplace basically, and it will shoot out fire. And that's again the same exact thing. Do not activate that trap, or you will kill yourself. So finishing off these last couple Zeds. Using the I almost said DBS, the kaboom stick, the KBS, I suppose, if you will, to land on his head and Goomba stomp him. Now, one thing I want to say about Goombas here real quick is that you can Goomba stomp any Zed by landing on their head, and what it'll do is it'll knock them to the ground. However, there are some caveats to this. Number 1, there's a cooldown on Goomba stomps, and that is 5 seconds for all Zeds. But more importantly, raging flesh pounds and quarter pounds and bosses are completely and utterly immune to Goomba. So don't try to do this on raging FPs. It will not work. So, but as you can see there, it can be useful for, you know, just giving yourself some breathing room. I mean, the Scrake is on the ground, so he can't actually hit me, so it's just easy damage, right? And you also saw a moment ago too, while I was talking about that I was using the kaboom stick to launch myself, and the kaboom stick is a really good traveling tool for that matter. If you do perfect hopping with it, with reload canceling, you can actually outrun the faster perks in the game, like Gunslinger and Berserker. So I went ahead and upgraded the boomstick here. I think I wanted to get the second upgrade on the M16, but I didn't because I just wanted to be a little bit more even, so I decided to upgrade the boomstick. Doesn't really matter at this point. I just needed to get that first upgrade on the M16, so. But yeah, the Kaboom Stick is really good, again, for traveling around the map. It lets you take shortcuts with that jump. All I'm basically doing there is I'm looking in a certain direction, I'm jumping, and I'm using the alternate fire. And the alternate fire will launch you, and using that you can propel yourself around the map. So you saw earlier I used it to get over those bloats and sirens, and you can also just use it to travel around the map faster, which is awesome. This makes it one of the best guns in the game, next to the double-barrel boomstick. So there is a husk coming from that room back there. You might not have seen it, but I do have to keep that in mind that he will be showing up soon. There he is. No problem, just get the backpack shot. You want to be careful though with that, with backpack shots like that. If I had had a flesh pound alive at the moment, obviously, well I do now, but I didn't want to kill the husk, but let's say I did. You want to be very careful to listen, because if a flesh pound is next to a husk when you shoot his backpack, you will rage the flesh pound. And that is obviously not good. It's also not good that I missed that shot there, but it's okay, whatever. I killed him anyway. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have done this. I probably should have just went to the EMP path, because the wave still has 48 Zeds, but it's okay. It ended up working out for me, and I felt confident enough that if I did get Zeds in front of me, I could just clear them with like a boomstick, so. And you might notice too, there's a spawn above me there, that little window. That's why it's a good idea to turn on the EMP as you enter, because if anything is dropping out of that window, it will instantly EMP them. EMP also has the secret benefit of revealing cloaked units, like Stalkers or the Patriarch, or the Matriarch actually, even as well. So if there are any stalkers in the path there, turning on the EMP will reveal them, because when they have the electric effect on them, you can clearly see them. So it's just something to keep in mind. One other thing I'm doing with my M16 in this run is I'm doing what's called tap firing. And you might notice that it seems like my gun is kind of stuttering, and that's because I'm doing tap firing. And what that basically is I'm just tapping my mouse one button over and over again, as opposed to holding it to achieve fully automatic fire. And the reason why you'd want to do this in Killing Floor 2 is because for most weapons, the first shot that you shoot is always more accurate than the other shots. And so by me doing that, I can ensure that more of my bullets are going to the center of the screen. You saw there too also, by the way, that I decided to take a little shortcut there with the Kaboom Stick. That would have been really useful to do if there had been something at the top of the stairs, like, I don't know, a scrape or something like that. I could have just jumped right past him. So 8 Zeds remaining on wave 8. This game is going fairly fast. It seems like when I was playing this match, it felt like it took really long, but now that I'm rewatching it, it's actually going by pretty quickly. Looks like I have 3 Scrakes here. So, because they're coming from both sides, I just want to get out of here. Not a good idea to fight them here. The Boom Stick allows me to jump right over his head and get a Goomba, and then an easy takedown. So here I'm tap firing again. Basically, as long as he doesn't move his head or do anything crazy, there's really no way that I can miss these shots, right? So for some people, it doesn't really work that well, but I find that tactic works pretty well. It's also extremely good for certain weapons, like the HM Tech 401 assault rifle, the medic assault rifle. That gun is infamous for having a really bad recoil pattern, and it's almost necessary to tap fire that gun to use it efficiently. Anyway, just refilling everything again. I don't quite have enough money to upgrade my M16 to tier 5 yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and refill everything else. I don't really need it anyway, like I said, it's kind of extraneous at this point, so. And I guess I'm just going for collectibles now. Oh, there we go. I decided to skip the trader. So yeah, I'm going the path... Oh, that ammo box just disappeared in my face. So I'm going on this path here. This is the spot that I was talking about that's particularly dangerous. Right here, you can get lots of spawns around the corner. Obviously, I didn't just now, but just keep in mind that that could happen. If that happens, just simply pull out your kaboom stick and jump over everything. That's the easiest way to get past all of it without taking, with taking minimal damage. You're probably not going to take no damage, but it's a whole heck of a lot better than becoming trapped, so... The better way to handle that would have just been to actually be able to be back in position by the time the wave starts, and that's just all part of trader management. I was being a little bit impatient and I just thought I was a trader, so. But I probably could have just like ran here and let the wave start on its own, and it would have been fine. Elite Crawler just kind of doing some weird shit there. I wanted to get the headshot, but he decided he wanted to do a 180 or 360 for some reason, so I decided to just drop down because I didn't want to deal with the explosion of gas. Standing in gas is a really bad idea. It erodes about 3 armor per second, or 3 armor every 2 seconds or so, give or take. Don't do that. That's just a waste of armor. If you get a gas crawler that explodes on you, just get out of there and come back later when the gas is gone. It's not worth the armor loss. Notice how I'm not overstaying my welcome here. You know, I use the path to get a couple good kills and then I get out, because the longer I stay, the more chances that I'm going to have of things spawning up ahead of me. And one thing I want to distinctly point out right now is that I hadn't had any large spawns up until just now. Right as I started talking about it, it happened. But notice how up until then it had been really oddly quiet. Whenever that happens in a match, you can be very sure that you're going to get larges soon. There's going to be larges in the wave no matter what. It's a matter of when are they going to spawn. And if you go for long lulls like that where nothing is happening, you can almost be 100% positive that it's going to happen soon. And you don't want it to happen in a bad spot of the map. It's really hard to explain, but it's just something you get the hang of as you play this game more. You start to kind of understand how the ebb and flow of the game works. Hello, Husk. Unfortunately, this Husk is going to cause me to lose my ult, but he almost exploded on me. I gave a little head shake there. I actually forgot that that even happened, man. That would have been the end of the game if that landed on me, so very fortunate that I was able to drop off there in time. I should have just shot him, honestly. Quarter pound spawned in front of me here. I don't really care about killing this this clot here because I want to have the ammo loaded in my gun for the door. The door is more important. There might be, other things in the doorway that need killing, so I just bashed the clot instead of killing him, and then bolted for the door. EMP path just making that Scrake a pretty easy kill, honestly. He can't even rage when he's EMP'd, so it's quite literally just like a free kill at that point, as long as you don't miss. And once again, just pointing out what I said earlier, I was able to use this EMP path twice because I hit the first switch and then I hit the second switch when it turns off, and then the second switch activated again. So I could just keep this whole area locked down infinitely for the most part. The Husk is trying to shoot me and he just keeps getting EMP'd. Oh, that's not nice. There we go. Sorry, I had to do it for the backpack shot. It's mandatory. One more wave remaining. Just have wave 10, and then that'll be the game. So hopefully by now, I feel like I've been talking about it maybe too much, but you can, hopefully you have a good understanding now of where the dangerous spots in this map actually are. Right there, what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of that door. I should have done that in the very beginning of the match, straight up. I don't know why I waited this long to do that. The thing about doors in Killing Floor is that they are non-solid to Zeds in terms of projectiles. Like, Zeds can't walk through them, but they can shoot through them. So Edars and Husks and, you know, anything that has a ranged attack can actually shoot you through the door. But of course, you can't shoot through the door as a player, so it's quite literally just an obstacle that allows Zeds to get cheap attacks off on you. And they also just get in the way during a kite. So, generally speaking, if you can get rid of doors for the most part, you want to try to do that. Doors can be useful sometimes for blocking Zeds, but more often than not, they become a liability. And that one that was on the kite path is definitely a bad door that needs to go. So, again, I should have done that at the start of the match. I don't know why I waited until wave 10, but, you know, obviously I'm alive still, so it hasn't necessarily inconvenienced me that bad. It's just still something to keep in mind, though. Once again, I'm not activating the trap, rather, because I don't want anything to come out in front of me. See? And as you can see, it's pretty empty. Hopefully this spawn is not here. It actually is, but it's okay. They came from the left side, which is the better side for them to come out of. So they had come from the EMP path, and I would have to deal with them in front of me, but now they're all behind me, so I just need to utilize this EMP effect to take them out, and there you go. Now here's a particularly trolly situation here. So I wanted to kaboom stick jump over the scrape here, right? But that clot walks in and body blocks me and causes me to miss my jump. So unfortunately I was panicking there. I had to jump again, which rages the scrape. He gets a hit off on me, and the rider also manages to punch me as well. So just an example of like how things can go wrong sometimes with these jumps is if a Zed walks out in front of you, you're kind of in trouble, but it's okay. I managed to pull it off, no problem. You know, if anything, it's just another example of why this weapon is so fucking good. I wouldn't have gotten out of that situation without taking a lot of damage or just dying if I didn't have this gun, so. Anyway, back at my original hold again. I know for a fact that, you know, talking about the lulls again, nothing has spawned in a while. It's very oddly quiet right now, so you can be sure that I'm going to get a flush pound spawn very soon. Any one of these kills here could activate the spawn. Also, there's an elite crawler coming. I don't know if you saw it below, so I knew he was going to come there. That's just general map knowledge. Once you learn the maps, you know what the paths are, and I knew he was going to walk out, so I just waited. But again, I know there's a flush pound spawn very, very soon. It's going to happen, and when it does, I need to act very quickly because I may need to go for traps here. So I actually had to leave because that scrape there, which is fine. I don't want to rage scrape here either because, again, I'm going to get a flush pound spawn soon. And having raging scrapes and flush pounds is not a good idea. So here I'm going to ignore everything behind me. I don't want to kill anything because as I turned and killed them. Honestly, don't know why I did that either. That's really dangerous to do because of what just happened there. So by me killing those Zeds, I opened up more spawn slots for other Zeds to appear. And I'm pretty sure that Siren spawned right in front of me because of that. And she actually deleted my projectile from the kaboom stick, which is also very bad. If that happens to you, by the way, one thing you can do to combat that is to just bash the Siren. Bashing will interrupt Zed's abilities, so if she's streaming, you can interrupt the stream. Oh yeah, this is where I got the spawn. So I got a double spawn reach here, and luckily it happened next to the trap, so I was able to just open the door, but like I said, I knew it was going to happen eventually, and unfortunately for me, it happened there, but also fortunately, it was next to the trap, so pretty lucky on my part, honestly. But yeah, anyways, getting back to what I was saying, bashes do interrupt Zed's attacks, so like I said, if the Siren is screaming, and she's preventing you from using your kaboom stick or any gun, just hit her in the face, and then that will allow you to resume, you know, whatever it is you were doing. Flush pounds are both dead. I didn't take a single hit from them, which is awesome. That floor trap really coming in handy there. Pretty lucky, like I said, to be honest with you. Like, they could have appeared at any other spot in the map, and they happened to appear right there, so. Stairs and raised platforms are really good for getting Goomba Stomps. So just using that to secure my scrape kill. And this is basically the end of the game. Critical mode rules state that the minimum requirements to win the match is just completing wave 10. So as soon as I finish this wave, I actually win the challenge. I will be doing the boss though, just because I think it's useful for me to show off tactics in the boss, if any. And again, the run just feels kind of incomplete without it, so But yeah, that is the game. That is Monster Ball Level 0 Challenge as Demolitionist. Just taking out this last streak with style. And there you go. That is the challenge complete. So for the boss wave, I'm going to be swapping to using the Kaboom Stick and the RPG 7. Without a doubt, you almost always want to have a RPG for the boss. The RPG does a lot of impact damage and general explosive damage. I mean, it's one of Demolitionist's best guns. The reason why I didn't use one for the main part of this match, though, was just because I prioritized the ability to, you know, shoot Zeds at point blank over having a really powerful projectile. Because if the Zeds had gotten in my face, I wouldn't have been able to use the RPG because it has a minimum army range. So, but now that I'm on the boss, though, it's definitely safe to take the RPG-7 because of just the high amount of damage that it does. So King Fleshpound has spawned here now, and what I want to be doing here is just watching out for his quarter pounds. King Fleshpound himself actually really isn't too threatening. It's mainly just the quarter pounds that spawn, and he spawns quarter pounds immediately when he appears, and then he spawns them again at 75% health remaining, 50% health remaining, and 25% health remaining. So basically every 25% quarter pounds will spawn. And yes, King Fleshpound can be deraged by the MP trap. Become more quarter pounds. If a quarter pound is threatening to block your path or just generally harass you, rage him. Because by raging him, he will stop in place, and while he's doing the rage animation, you can actually slip by. But honestly, as far as the boss itself goes, I'm not even gonna there really is nothing to talk about here, to be honest with you guys. It's basically just jump, use the alternate fire with the Kaboom Stick, and jump away from him and damage him. It's kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie. That's basically KFP as a Demolitionist. That's why this weapon is a bit... I'd hesitate to say overpowered, but it's definitely a bit ridiculous in that regard. Because he basically can never hit me. As long as I time my jumps properly, KFP literally cannot hit me. So he's just kind of screwed down. That was the last KP in the wave too as well, so... I'm gonna hightail it over to the EMP path here just to get a last E-Rage on him. I don't remember if he actually D-Rages or not. I think he doesn't actually, yeah. So just again, FPs just being FPs. Sometimes they just don't D-Rage, and again, I don't know why. I actually don't know what causes that. Just something to think about though and be prepared for when you're fighting Fleshpounds on that path. It usually works though. I'd say it has like a like an 80% success rate easily. But yeah, anyway, cleaning up the boss here is really nothing to talk about, just jumping backwards and shooting at him. And that's going to be the match officially over. I guess I'm trying to go for a style kill. Yeah, I wanted to blow him up with the RPG. Let's put poor King Fleshpound out of his misery here and get the match wrapped up and over with. So once again, that was Demolitionist Level 0 Challenge on Monster Ball. I hope everybody that, I hope you guys watching this video learned something cool, learned some new tricks and tips maybe, and just generally had a good time watching. I've been having a lot of fun doing these runs, and they're just an interesting challenge that's a little bit different from the norm that I normally do, which is controlled difficulty. So I definitely want to make more of these, and be on the lookout for future videos for Level 0 Challenge. Anyway, take care everybody, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.